The Great Pyramid of Giza contains three known chambers: the King's Chamber, the Queen's Chamber, and an unfinished subterranean chamber cut into the bedrock beneath the structure. But those are only the ones confirmed. In 2017, a team of physicists using muon tomography, a technology that tracks subatomic particles passing through solid stone, detected a previously unknown void, a cavity at least 30 meters long, sitting above the Grand Gallery, sealed inside 6 million tons of limestone with no obvious entrance and no clear purpose. The Egyptian Ministry of Antiquities confirmed the finding cautiously, describing it as a void, and then the investigation quietly stalled. No further details were published, no excavation was announced. The void remains exactly where the scan found it: unexplored, unexplained. And somewhere in the mountains of Ethiopia, in a church in the city of Aksum, there is a text written in the ancient Ge'ez language, a language that died as a spoken tongue more than 1,000 years ago, that describes chambers like this one. Hidden chambers, sealed by divine command, chambers built not by men but by something else, something older, for a purpose the text itself declares too terrible to reveal. The Book of Enoch claims that before the flood, before the world was wiped clean and remade, there were beings who walked the earth and knew things no human should know. Things about the structure of the cosmos, things about the movement of the stars, things about what lies beneath the surface of the world. And according to the book, God commanded that these things be sealed away, buried, hidden inside structures that would survive even the destruction of the world itself. If you have never heard of this book, it is because for most of Christian history, it was deliberately removed from Scripture. But it has never been lost. It was never forgotten. And the things it describes, the chambers it mentions, the specific details of what was sealed inside them and why they must never be opened, are far stranger than most people realize. Subscribe now if you want to uncover what was removed from Scripture, because the story behind this book and the things it claims are buried beneath the earth is not what you were taught. The most relevant passage appears in chapters 17 through 18 of the Book of the Watchers, the first and oldest section of Enoch. The text describes a journey. Enoch, the seventh generation from Adam, is taken from his home and carried by angels to what the Ge'ez text calls the ends of the earth. This is not metaphor. The text is specific. It names physical locations. It describes distances. At the ends of the earth, Enoch sees something the text repeatedly calls the storehouses. These are not storehouses of grain or gold or any human commodity. These are storehouses of natural forces: the lightning, the thunder, the winds, the hail. The text describes them in chapter 17 as chambers sealed by divine command, each one containing a force that, if released, would unravel the world. The Ge'ez word used here, mezagupt, carries the specific meaning of a treasury that is locked, sealed against entry, something placed under guard. Then in chapter 18, Enoch sees something else, something that does not fit any natural formation in the geography of the ancient Near East. He describes 7 mountains of precious stones arranged in formation. The middle mountain, the text says, reached to heaven like the throne of God. It was made of alabaster, its summit of sapphire. And at the base of this central mountain, Enoch sees a deep abyss and a fire burning within it. He asks the angel Uriel what this place is. The answer, preserved in the Aramaic fragments found at Qumran and in the Ethiopian Ge'ez manuscript, is direct. This is the prison of the stars and the host of heaven, a place where celestial beings who had transgressed were bound, placed under the earth, sealed inside stone, awaiting a judgment that has still not come. A stone structure of immense size, built with precision that allows it to function as a marker between heaven and earth, containing sealed chambers beneath it where something powerful is imprisoned, 7 features arranged around a central peak. That description does not match any known mountain range in the Levant. It does not match anything in the standard geography of Mesopotamia or Canaan. But there is a structure in Egypt that fits the geometry. The Astronomical Book of Enoch, chapters 72 through 82, is the most technically dense section of the entire text. It was also the section most dramatically confirmed by the Dead Sea Scroll discoveries. Before 1947, scholars believed the Astronomical Book might be a late addition, perhaps composed centuries after the rest of Enoch. Then, the Qumran fragments surfaced. Written in Aramaic on leather scrolls, these fragments predate any previously known Enoch manuscript by 1,000 years. They contain detailed calendrical calculations, the division of the solar year into 364 days, the precise tracking of lunar cycles, descriptions of the sun rising through 6 eastern gates and setting through 6 western gates over the arc of a year, the stars, their paths, their fixed positions. The precision of these descriptions is not approximate. It is systematic. It is mathematical. It is knowledge that, according to the text, was revealed to a man who walked the earth before the flood. And then chapter 82 says something specific, something that changes how you read everything that came before it. Enoch is shown these things. He is given knowledge of the cosmos, the exact knowledge of how the heavens move. And then the angel Uriel instructs him to write it down. And then he is told something else. He is told that this knowledge would one day be hidden, sealed inside a structure, preserved through a catastrophe that was about to come. The text does not use the word pyramid. It does not name Egypt. But it describes, in the language available to its time, the act of sealing forbidden knowledge inside a stone monument designed to outlast a global flood. Knowledge given to one man. Knowledge meant to survive an extinction. The Great Pyramid was not built as a tomb. At least there is no evidence that it ever contained a body. No mummy has ever been found inside it. No funerary inscriptions decorate its walls. The stone sarcophagus in the king's chamber shows no trace of ever having held a corpse, and it is too large to have been moved through the narrow ascending passageways after construction, which means it must have been placed inside during the build itself. It was not a coffin added later, it was a fixture, designed in. From the beginning, the pyramid's geometry encodes data that should not have been available to a Bronze Age civilization. Its perimeter divided by twice its height equals 314, the mathematical constant pi accurate to several decimal places. Its alignment to true north deviates by just 3/60ths of a degree, a precision more exact than the Meridian building at the Greenwich Observatory constructed in the 19th century. Its location sits at the intersection of the longest parallel of latitude and the longest meridian of longitude that cross any landmass on Earth. And then there are the shafts. From the king's chamber, 2 narrow channels ascend at precise angles through the solid stone. The southern shaft targets Alnitak, the leftmost star of Orion's belt. The northern shaft targets Thuban, the pole star at the time of construction. From the queen's chamber, 2 similar shafts point to Sirius and Kokab. These are not drainage channels, these are not ventilation. These are a permanent astronomical alignment frozen in stone that still functions 45 centuries later. The Book of Enoch's astronomical book describes the movement of the stars with a precision that puzzled scholars for generations before Qumran confirmed its antiquity. It divides the year, it tracks the solstices, it names the constellations and traces their paths through gates in the heavens. And it claims that this knowledge was revealed to a man who lived before the flood, who was told to seal it inside a structure that would survive the coming destruction. The pyramid and the text describe the same thing from opposite ends of history. A repository of celestial knowledge, encoded in stone, built to survive the end of a world. The Book of Enoch was removed from mainstream Christian scripture through a series of decisions made by early church councils. The Council of Laodicea, convened in 364 CE, produced a definitive list of canonical books, books considered divinely inspired and authoritative for the faith. The Book of Enoch was not on that list. The reasons were multiple. Its authorship was disputed. Its detailed descriptions of fallen angels, the Watchers, and their offspring, the Nephilim, raised theological problems that church authorities found impossible to reconcile with emerging Orthodox doctrine. Its apocalyptic visions did not fit neatly into the narrative the early church was constructing. Easier to exclude it, so they did. But the exclusion was never total. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church, isolated from the Mediterranean councils by geography and politics, kept Enoch in its canon. To this day, the Ethiopian Bible contains 81 books, not the 66 of the Protestant Bible or the 73 of the Catholic canon. Enoch is among them. And the Ge'ez text, preserved in that ancient Semitic language that survives only as a liturgical tongue, is the only complete version of the Book of Enoch to have reached the modern world in full. When the Scottish scholar R.H. Charles traveled to Ethiopia and produced the first complete English translation in 1906. The academic world was skeptical. The text seemed too strange, too elaborate. The consensus dismissed it as a medieval Ethiopian fabrication, a late composition with no connection to antiquity. Then came Qumran. In 1947, Bedouin shepherds discovered clay jars in caves near the Dead Sea. Inside them were scrolls. Among those scrolls were fragments of every section of Enoch except one. The Book of the Watchers, the Astronomical Book, the Book of Dreams, the Epistle of Enoch. All of it. Written in Aramaic, predating the Ethiopian manuscripts by 1,000 years. The text that the Council of Laodicea had excluded, that Western Christianity had forgotten, that scholars had dismissed as a fabrication, turned out to be one of the oldest surviving Jewish religious texts in existence, older than the final redaction of the Torah, older than most of the prophetic books. A text that had been sealed away, literally sealed in clay jars inside a desert cave, for 2 millennia. None of this is to claim that supernatural beings are literally imprisoned beneath the Great Pyramid. The connection between an ancient text and an ancient structure does not constitute proof. It constitutes a parallel. A strange parallel. A parallel that tightens the more precisely you look at it. A text written more than 2,000 years ago describes sealed stone chambers built to contain forbidden knowledge and survive a global catastrophe. The most precisely engineered stone structure of the ancient world, still standing, still not fully explored, contains a sealed void that modern physics has detected but no one has entered. And so here you are, looking back from the 21st century at these two pieces of evidence, separated by geography, by language, by millennia of silence. On one side, a stone monument of extraordinary precision, its internal geometry encoding mathematical constants and astronomical alignments that its builders should not have been able to calculate. On the other, a text preserved in a dead language in a remote African church, describing knowledge that was supposed to be buried. Sealed by divine command, never opened, excluded from scripture, hidden in a cave, preserved by accident or by design. The text does not tell us what is inside the chamber beneath the central mountain of precious stones. It tells us that whatever it is, it was never meant to be found. The muon scan of 2017 did not reveal what the void above the Grand Gallery contains. It only revealed that the void exists. The Egyptian authorities confirmed the finding with caution and then went quiet. No expedition, no announcement. The chamber remains sealed. The pyramid keeps its secret. And the Book of Enoch, written in Ge'ez in a church in Aksum, Ethiopia, the only complete copy of a text that was never supposed to survive, waits for someone to read it and understand what it is actually saying.